Hello to whoever might be watching this video. One of the experiences I had last year that I just have barely talked about at all, when I traveled through Europe for 4 months. Well, technically I was studying abroad, which is like less cool than just backpacking in Europe, which I totally get and I agree with. But I did make sure to do trips almost every single weekend to different parts of Europe. In the 4-month period, I ended up visiting 14 different countries. So that's like, I think it's a pretty fair number. I think I did a pretty good job. And like, I was pretty good about my budget as well. I never spent more than a few $100s on a weekend. So that being said, I did make a lot of mistakes. As my silly little American, untraveled prior to this self. And I know this is the time of year where a lot of people are going out to Europe and just traveling and enjoying life. So this video, I guess, is for anyone who's not super well traveled or just wants to be over-prepared. This is the list we're going to talk about. You can either just read it now or watch this video for the next few minutes. So my first little silly mistake that I don't actually even blame myself for was before I even left the United States of America. So I took an Air France flight from Boston to Paris and then to Copenhagen, where I was studying abroad. And I was like so sure that my ticket came with a checked bag because it's an intercontinental flight. It should come with a checked bag, right? But anyway, I go to check my bag and it's like 1 kilogram or like 1 pound. It was 1 something over the weight limit. And usually when that happens, they're like, oh, you're a little over, like take something out. But like I was what's 1 thing over and they didn't like say anything about the number. They just said that'll be 75 or like $70 or something. And I was like, why? And then they just said it was some sort of like luggage fee, or like they just said for the baggage fee or something. They said something really vague and I was like flustered and like stressed because this was my first time really leaving North America. So I was just really flustered and I was like, okay. And I paid it. And then like I checked the receipt later and it was for like an oversized or like over heavy bag. And I got really... Long story short, I still have a vendetta against Air France because why couldn't they have just told me to take something out? Why couldn't they have just told me that? Why? Like I would have taken something out, man. We could have solved this problem. You're a bunch of jerks. So that was a bummer way to start. I also had to pay for a bag on my flight back. Apparently when there's a stopover in Iceland, not only do you not get like a free meal on the flight because you technically have a stopover, but you usually don't get a free checked bag either. So that's something else to know. That was inconvenient. But while we're on this topic, I'm gonna skip the second one for now and come back to it. Always just triple check the airline baggage policies. You're gonna be, if you're traveling all throughout Europe and you're not always doing trains, like if you're studying abroad there, if you're not always doing trains, you're gonna be on these like weird, smaller, not weird, but like smaller airlines that you're not super familiar with, and they all have different rules, and some of them are really confusing. I only ever traveled with a carry-on, like non-personal item, like on 1 trip, and that was for a longer trip that I did during my semester break. So sure that my ticket came with a bag because it said it came with a carry-on bag, and then they were like, psych, you have to check it. And there was no option to like upgrade the ticket or do anything else. You just had to check the bag, and it was an extra fee that I wasn't expecting at that time, and just an inconvenience to have to check a bag, such a small bag too. So that was an annoying thing. So just always triple check your airline fees and be confident and just ask questions. Okay, on the topic of travel and fees, if you're not flying on a plane, you're probably either taking a bus or a train. I took both at various different points and places in my travels. And oh my gosh, if you guys think that the cookies on airline search sites are bad, they are ridiculously bad on train and bus like fare sites. I swear, if you go and search for like a bus ticket or a train ticket that's like within a month of when you want to go, if you do not buy it within the first 20 minutes that you look on that site, they will double or triple the price just because they saw you looking, and it's not going to go back down. They are so aggressive about it. They give you no time at all. I spent genuine hours frustrated about this, trying to like figure out how to fix it, how to get out of it, how to get those prices back to where they originally were just hours before, and nothing worked because they hate you and they suck. This is true for Flixbus, Omnibus, Rome to Rio, like whatever thing that you're looking at, even Trainline, they're culprits too. Like, everywhere was just a pain in the butt. But I did figure out a little hack, and I hope that they don't see this. The train and bus routes don't vary too much on like a weekly schedule. So pick the day that you want to go and like look like 2 weeks before or after that and see what the prices are when you're deciding like what time you want to leave, or you just want to see like the routes and the options. Like, don't look on the actual day that you want to go, or like the days just before or just after that, because the prices are going to skyrocket. You're going to push them. Like, this method might screw over some other people that are looking for those trains, or buses or whatever, but this is for you. We're talking about you. So if you're in Europe and you're looking for kind of a last minute train, and by last minute I mean like month or a few weeks before, train or bus ticket, don't look at your actual date. Don't even glance at the page for your actual date until you're ready to buy. Oh, and if you book a train, get on your actual train, because there was 1 or 2 scenarios where my friend and I decided, oh, we just wanted a few extra hours in the city, and you could do same day switches to a different train. So we decided to, we'll just take the next one. Let's not be in a rush. And then we got on the train, and they were like, that'll be an extra 50 or 70 or whatever euros. And it sucked. So yeah, just get on your train if you want to avoid the fee. If not, whatever. Plan exit strategies in advance. And by that, I mean like when you're leaving. I took so many miserable 5 a.m. Monday flights when I was in Europe to get back to campus for school. Hopefully you don't have to do this, but that is when the tickets are cheapest, and it is fairly timed. And sometimes the flights are so early that you get to the airport before the airline counter even opens. Sometimes you're going to have to leave for the airport before the public train system even starts running. So you have to plan in advance how you're going to get there, whether that's going to be a taxi or an Uber, or if the train is open, take the train. You got to definitely look at that in advance and have a plan for your exit strategy. This is a lot easier in some places than others. The most difficult place for me was definitely Hania in Greece, specifically on the island of Crete. There was just like no website, nothing for their bus system. There were no maps. It was just pure hope. Pure hope. We ended up making the bus from the airport, but having to take a taxi to the airport because it was hard. So plan your exit strategy, but then also have like 1 or 2 backup strategies in case something isn't running or you're late, or, you know, the last thing you want to do is be stuck somewhere. The next one's kind of out of the blue for this list, but get drinks early. So many places in Europe, like the liquor stores or the beverage stores or whatever, they stop selling alcohol at like 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. That's probably like the latest, or sometimes they don't sell it on certain days of the week. So if you know you're gonna go out and you're trying to like pregame, but you don't have drinks, don't wait until the night to get the drinks unless you're gonna get them at the bar. If you're trying to like have a little bottle of wine in the hostel or something like that, get them in advance, because otherwise it's just not, you're gonna be disappointed and semi-frustrated and ending up having to shell out a lot more money at a bar. Not everyone does this, but I tried to make budgets for my trips, and my trips were rarely more than a few days to a specific place, but almost 100% of the time I was over budget. You know, and it does get a little bit harder because you don't quite know always how much things are going to cost in a different country, you know? So my advice here is like, do your research, do some research, kind of imagine what you're planning on doing in that specific place, and then increase your budget by 20%, because things happen or opportunities come, or you get an extra drink here or there, something like that, and you're over, and you gotta just account for that. So yeah, young people like under the age of like 25 or 28, and people with like visas for the European Union can get so many discounts on like museums and like even train tickets and things like that. Because I had a residence permit for Denmark, which is in the EU, I could get into like the Louvre for free and a bunch of places for free, as if I was a European like citizen, which was super cool. And then a lot of places also have student discounts. Sometimes you need like a specific verification card for those, but it's always worth looking up because you never know what you're gonna find. My next one is only get cash when you need it. So I was only home for like 36 hours before I moved to Europe. Like I was living in Seattle, then I had a business trip in New York. I came home for the weekend, I was gone on Sunday. Like it was very boom, boom, boom. So I was like packing, I was doing everything very fast, and I was like, oh my God, I need currency, oh my gosh. So I like ran to my bank and I was like, give me like X amount of euros. Like I need these euros. I need euros, even though I was moving to a country that literally doesn't accept euros. And didn't have the Danish currency, because why would they? So I like emergency bought a bunch of euros, and I had to pay like a certain percentage fee to my bank for like the foreign currency fee and like all that, just because I thought I was gonna need all these euros. I get on my little plane to Denmark. I land immediately. When I get off the plane, there's an ATM. I put in my card, I get a bunch of Danish krones. No foreign transaction fee, I just get a bunch of Danish krones. I could have gotten euros if I wanted to. I could have gotten euros. I got those euros in August before I moved to Europe. I got like $800 worth of euros. I was not even in a country where I could use euros until like end of October. Like it was a month and a half before I could even use that. I went to like the UK and Switzerland and Sweden, like all the places that don't accept euros first. But could have just gotten off the plane, gone to an ATM and gotten some euros should I have needed it. Most places don't want cash. Most places in Europe just want Apple Pay. I think the main exception is like Greece, or like if you're going to a farmer's market or Christmas markets, depending on the time of year. Cash is good then. But for the Danish money, I never had to get Danish money or euros out more than once, more than that one time I did it when I first got there. And at the end, I had leftover and I had to just give it to my friends. I was like, here, like I can't use these anymore. So yeah, only get cash if you know you're going to a place where you're going to need it, because otherwise it's just like not worth it. You might also need cash for like a cover for a club, potentially. Not a must, but a strongly suggest when you go to hostels, bring an eye mask. I just always sleep with an eye mask because I love it. Earplugs. One of my friends was absolutely miserable at this hostel we were staying at in Germany. It was a mixed dorm hostel, and there were these men that were snoring so loud and just being so obnoxious, and she didn't sleep the whole night. She just did not sleep because they were being so loud. I grew up next to a bunch of chickens and roosters, so I can sleep like a rock through about anything, but she was miserable and she wishes nothing but the worst for those men. So just get a cheap pair of earplugs and bring at least some sort of towel. You know, ideally you're scrunching up a little microfiber towel and using that at a hostel, but at least bring like a hand towel or something that you can damp yourself dry with. I can't tell you how many times I dried myself with a bunch of crushed up toilet paper. SIM cards, super cheap over there. You can get an eSIM, which you just turn on right on your phone. It's super, super easy. You can get them for super cheap. I didn't use it when I was in Europe, but lately in my travels, I've been using Airlo. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced, it's how I say it. And you just pick the country, how many gigs you want, how long you want it to last, and you go from there. I'll actually include right here and in the description, you can use that code to get a few dollars off your next eSIM if you want to do that. When I got to Denmark, SIM cards were free, and I just got a phone plan on the internet, and it was $7 a month for 25 gigs and European roaming. So no complaints there. Way, 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 way cheaper than the United States. Annoyingly cheaper than the United States. So get an eSIM, don't do an international data plan. Validate your tickets and just always pay for your tickets, and don't try to cheat the system because they do not care. You can't cry. You can't say, oh, I'm a tourist, I didn't know, because that's how they make their money. They literally do not care. If you were caught with a ticket that you paid for but it's not validated, fine. If you're caught trying to skip out on a ticket or with a fake ticket, fine. Like my friend and I, when we were in Italy, when we were in Florence, we got like this $2 train ticket. Did not realize that it needed to be validated once we got on the train. So right when we got to Florence, we got fined $50, 50 euros actually each, just because we didn't validate it. And there's just nothing you could do. They just give you the fine. They don't care. In Denmark, which is a kind of a big honor system for the train, if you're caught with like a fake ticket or you didn't pay for a ticket, like right on the spot, they're gonna fine you like between $100, $150. Like I didn't get fined when I was in Denmark, but cumulatively, my friends got fined hundreds of dollars just because like they forgot to reload their card, or they were just like, oh, this is a short trip, like I'm gonna be fine. No, it's just so worth it. Just pay for your ticket every time. This one's very basic, but just bring a portable charger everywhere you go, always, all the time. You never want to have a dead phone, especially in a place that you're not used to being. I'm getting kind of tired, so I'm gonna speed through these. I'm sure you want to do fun things like take a pasta making class in Italy, or drink some beer in Germany, or go on a canal cruise in Amsterdam. If you're trying to do anything like that, or you're just trying to figure out what to do when you go somewhere, get your guide in Viator or Viator or whatever it is. They're great for booking things if you have the budget and you want to do that, but also just getting inspiration for like what things there are to do in a city. A lot of cities also have like city passes, which are usually on the pricier side, but sometimes they're worth it depending on what you want to do. But at the very least, they're good for inspiration. Maybe you can find some cheaper alternatives that are still similar. I'll also put a link to both of those in the description. I'm a big believer in comfort over looks. I would always rather bring a comfortable pair of boots over like some flashy heels. Even if it brings down the outfit a little bit, I would rather wear my comfortable trainers over like uncomfortable whatever. Just when in doubt, whether it comes to like a jacket, if it's cold, or shoes, especially shoes, like always pick the comfortable option. European roads are not meant for suitcases. If you're rolling a suitcase, you're gonna look silly. I did that. Like I said earlier, I only carried a carry-on once, and that was in Italy and Greece. Every other time I was just using literally this backpack that was not at all made for travel. I got it at my summer internship right before I went to Europe, but I just fit everything in that backpack. Now I have like a proper travel backpack for when I go backpacking through Asia or wherever I go later this year. Do everything in your power not to bring a suitcase, because you don't need it. That brings me into the next point, which is you always need less than you think. Go with neutrals, go with highly adaptable clothing that can be worn a billion different ways. Come up with a little capsule wardrobe. Bring your like one pair of shoes and like your go-to pants, a pair of leggings and a t-shirt to sleep in, especially if you're only going somewhere for a few days. You always need less than you think. You can find a way to wash your clothes. Decide what you're gonna wear in advance and don't pack all the extra stuff. I would go on up to like 4 or 5 day trips with just this like tiny backpack. I couldn't even tell you how many liters this backpack is because it's just a laptop bag. Like it was not made for travel. It's just what I brought, so it's what I used. But I was able to fit so much in this bag because one, I never, except with the exception of maybe like once or twice, brought more than the pair of shoes that were on my feet. I would wear multiple layers of pants and sweatshirts on the plane, and I would use compression bags, not packing cubes, but like these that are made for like full luggage. I would just stuff in all my clothes, squeeze the air out of it, and shove it, like stick my foot in my backpack and squeeze it to the bottom of the bag. And I had plenty of room for whatever I wanted. And I did most of my traveling like when it was cold, like November, December, October, like it was chilly. My clothes were thicker. They were not summer clothes, and I was fine. So if I was fine, you can be fine too. Compression bags are a must. And then last, just safety. I had a belt bag. You should have a belt bag. Always keep your belongings physically as close to you as possible. There are a lot of pickpocketers. Don't put anything in your pockets. Have your hand on your bag like when you need to, or have like a jacket over it. Like it just will ruin your week if you get pickpocketed, or if your phone gets stolen, or if anything like that happens. Even purses aren't safe. I know plenty of stories of people like at a club or whatever, and they're distracted and their purse gets unzipped. They take their phone. Like it happens so quickly. It's just not worth it. You're not allowed to carry like personal safety things onto airplanes for like obvious reasons. Get a little creative with that. Like I would always use like a wine beer bottle opener. I would always have that on me just as like a self-defense, just in case, because they usually had no problem with me taking it through the airport security. Sometimes they would give it a second look and like just make sure it wasn't like anything else, but I never got it confiscated or anything like that, and it just made me feel a little more secure knowing that I had something on me that I could use to defend myself. And if you're going out, go out with people you trust, or at least semi-trust. Share your location, all that. Bonus tips. I was just thinking of bonus tips, but I forgot them. So if I remember them, I'll come back in another form and tell you. Anyway, I'm Hannah. Subscribe if you want to. It's up to you. I don't know when I post videos. I don't know what I post about, but I'm just living my life. All right, bye.